Hi, Acadiana. Meteorologist Dave Baker here on a Wednesday. Got showers and thunderstorms in and around the area on this Wednesday afternoon. Very, very muggy outside this afternoon, too, and those heat index values are running close to 100 degrees, even with clouds and some rainfall coming down. Here's what we got for you right now. We've got a thunderstorm in the vicinity. Temperature at 87 degrees. Feels like 98 with that dew point at 76. So, yeah, it's pretty sticky out there. Humidity 70%, wind south-southeast at 10, gusting up to 21, so that's kind of an indication that there's a thunderstorm pretty close to the Lafayette Regional Airport, and the pressure right now is at 30.01. We can confirm that it's been raining over parts of Acadiana. Breaux Bridge camera showing rain coming down. Looks like rain still coming down over in Henderson. The sun's back out, but the roadways are wet there at I-10 at Louisiana Avenue and I-10 at I-49. And as you go over toward Opelousas, you got a nice downpour there. Got some wet roadways in Alexandria and some dark skies there off in the distance off of Ambassador Caffrey. Now, on the beaches, it's a beautiful day over in Panama City. Once again, I can't even remember the last time I saw a camera shot of Panama City during the show that didn't have full sunshine like that. Orange Beach looking pretty good. Dauphin Island looking fine as well. Lumcon Cam over in Cocodrie is down again today, but you can see there are some showers and thunderstorms looking toward the offshore waters of Galveston Bay in portions of southeastern Texas. If you are planning on doing some boating, there will be showers and thunderstorms out there, pretty likely, and the winds and seas, of course, will be higher around those showers and thunderstorms, but as a general rule, southerly winds today running about 5 to 10 knots and seas up to 2 feet. So there's a look at the radar, and you can see we're starting to get socked in. Very spotty on the shower and thunderstorm activity, and everything's kind of lifting off toward the northeast. But as we grab one of the other radars, let's grab the Shreveport radar here. And you can see that is where our front is going to be coming in. The front's still back toward the northwest, but you got a pretty good initial line of showers and thunderstorms right in this area here. And it's got some moderate to heavy rain to go along with it. And some of that is going to be shifting closer to our direction a little bit later on into the afternoon. So again, if we zoom it in, everything's pretty spotty over our region, not just here in Acadiana, but also over southeastern parts of Louisiana, capital city, about ready to get some pretty good downpours there coming across the river, and you've got some decent rains that are out over portions of the Atchafalaya Basin as well. So as we take that away, you can see how the big picture is. That front is going to come in here sometime probably early tomorrow morning, but the dry air kind of lags behind. So we're going to see a wind shift probably by early tomorrow morning, but the stronger northerly breezes and the dry air will probably hold off until about Friday. But the weekend still looks really, really nice with some drier air. So we've got low pressure and a cold front right about in here. Then we've got more of an upper trough that's going to kind of wrap around and kind of give this the push that it needs off toward the southeast. And then that'll pull in some of that drier air from up north. So again, we've got a pretty nice weekend ahead. Also wanted to bring to your attention, September the 24th is the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Rita making landfall on the southwestern Louisiana coast. Of course, that was a Category 3 hurricane when it made landfall. It caused an estimated $4 billion worth of damage just over southwestern Louisiana, with almost $3 billion of that in Cameron Parish alone. And in fact, in Cameron Parish, over 90% of the parish buildings were destroyed or severely damaged, including about 5,000 homes. Cameron, Creole, Holly Beach, that storm surge pounding waves, obliterating nearly every structure. The community of Holly Beach, like I said, was kind of reduced to nothing but roads, power lines, and concrete slabs. So one of those that really changed the landscape of southwestern Louisiana. Vermilion Parish, of course, was inundated, much of Iberia and St. Mary. We had storm surge values as high as 10 feet over parts of Iberia Parish, even though the center of circulation made landfall well over 100 miles off toward the west. And Rita still is tied with Hurricane Milton as the strongest Gulf hurricane when it comes to pressure. Remember, Milton was last year, late in the season, moving from the Bay of Campeche eastward over toward Florida. I wanted to show you one other little picture real quick, but that is what Holly Beach looked like before and after. And like we said, nothing but roadways and concrete slabs were left, and many of those houses were raised up high, and just did not survive Hurricane Rita. So that was really something else, and really made a believer more out of me when you hear those things about the storm surge and how far storm surge can go in. And when Hurricane Lily came in a couple 3 years before, we were getting the warnings. I lived in New Iberia at the time. We were getting the warnings that there was going to be 10 to 13 feet of water in the city of New Iberia, including around Main Street. And I lived right off of Main Street at the time. But, you hear these stories and you go, yeah, I understand how it's going to be. But you don't believe it. You truly don't believe that it's happening. And then when I came home from work after Hurricane Rita, and I came over the bridge there, I think it was the Avery Island Road overpass at Highway 90, and you could see water right there off the side of Highway 90. And that was really where I became a believer when it comes to storm surge. So when you have storm surge like that in those forecasts, it's really best to run from the water and hide from the wind. So water is really what's pretty scary. But fortunately, we're looking good across the Gulf waters this time around. Some showers, some thunderstorms over back here over toward the Bay of Campeche, but nothing to worry about there. And a little bit of shower activity over the coast of the Yucatan, stretching over to the Florida Keys. That's kind of part of a tropical wave that's still working its way off toward the west here along Central America, and that's going to continue to move away. But we're not expecting any tropical development. Really, all the action here, we've got 94L with a low-pressure area right about there, and you got 93L over here, which with another low-pressure area about right there. Both of these are forecast to develop now. One, I believe, is going to go ahead and roll its way over toward the Bahamas, and then I think it's going to take more of a turn. At this point, the U.S. needs to be watching out, the East Coast, not the Gulf Coast. But I would be a little bit more concerned, I think, about 93L. 94L will go toward the Bahamas. 93L looks like, according to some of the models, that it might have a better chance for development and also could get somewhat stronger. Now, it would not be a threat to the U.S. East Coast, but remember, Bermuda has had several near misses, but this is one I think Bermuda would need to pay attention to, as it would be getting pretty close. So there's what we're looking at right now. Gabrielle is still out there. It's a Category 2 hurricane with winds at 110 miles per hour. Of course, you can see the coordinates there on the left-hand side of your screen. Pressure's up to 962, and it's going to go ahead and race its way off toward the east. And we'll look at the cone in just a little while. And then, of course, you got 94L, 93L. We got another tropical wave that's out in the Atlantic, but that doesn't look too interesting at this time. So there's your tropical weather outlook for the next 7 days. Gabrielle will cruise off to the east, 94L to the left, and 93L to the right. Those are the prospective paths. And notice that 94L, that's the one that's over Puerto Rico, might affect the northern Caribbean islands and the Bahamas and then turn northward. And it is a little bit, kind of a scare there, kind of a graze toward the Carolina coast, but some of the models turn it a little bit harder off toward the northeast after that. And then with this one here, it also is kind of looking more of a path like that. But we'll look at the forecast down the road. So let's go ahead and start with Gabrielle, since it's the official storm that we've got out there. And remember, Gabrielle made its way up to a Category 4 for a while, and just dropped down below major hurricane status earlier today, with winds now at 110. 111 is where Category 3 starts, so we're kind of splitting hairs on that. But there is the National Hurricane Center's official forecast, keeping it a hurricane all the way to the islands of the Azores. And that is a little bit unusual. There have been tropical storms that have run through those islands before. Again, it's pretty rare, but to have a hurricane is even more rare. And then it will probably maintain tropical storm strength. You see how the letters there, the circles there, are white rather than black. That is an indication that it would no longer be a full-fledged tropical system. It might be subtropical or transitioning to a non-tropical low-pressure area, but it may even hold on to the strength. Even though, again, it would not be an official tropical system anymore, it would still be maintaining tropical storm or perhaps tropical depression type of winds as it approaches the coast of Portugal. Now, the only bona fide tropical system that was still tropical in nature that I can find that made its way all the way over there in recent memory was Hurricane Vince, and that was in the 2005 hurricane season. Of course, 2005 had a lot of company: Hurricane Rita, Katrina, among all the others. It's one of the busiest hurricane seasons ever on record. But you can see the trends are showing that it is going to continue to weaken here over the next 5 or 6 days, and then should be down into tropical depression status as it approaches areas around Europe. Next one is 93L. That one is more in the central part of the Atlantic. Just to get your perspective here, the Virgin Islands and the northern Leeward Islands are right there, and this blob right there is 94L. So this is 93L. Don't want to. It's going to be hard to not get these confused for a little while, because they're both going to kind of run in tandem off toward the northwest. It's still away from any land, so that's good news. And it does appear that 93L is going to maybe take that turn more toward the north and then turn toward the east. Here's Bermuda right there in the middle. So I would say Bermuda would need to keep a pretty close eye on this for a couple of reasons. One, if the track were to shift a little bit farther to the east, but really number two, if it does go west of Bermuda like that, the bad part of the hurricane system would be on that side. So Bermuda would fare a lot worse with a tropical system moving west of it rather than east, like some of the other tropical storms and hurricanes have done. And the forecast for the intensity kind of keeps it as a tropical depression. It may be a tropical depression here later tonight or early tomorrow, but it really doesn't start to ramp up into hurricane status until you get beyond day 3. So it's going to struggle for a couple of days, but I don't know. The satellite image looks pretty impressive. It looks like there's some kind of a low-level circulation trying to get going there. Not really sure if we're seeing anything when it comes to the aircraft reconnaissance. And in fact, I'm just kind of going here in the background here. It looks like they've got one that's going out to the Leeward Islands, probably out there right now. That's going to be 94L. So we'll watch out for those recon aircraft to see if we actually have anything. 94L is going to be more likely the one that they're going to concentrate on, and the main reason is because they've got reconnaissance aircraft there in Puerto Rico. So that's not too far. So that's probably why they're getting out there and doing some investigating right now. And we'll get an update on that one a little bit later on. So yeah, it looks like they're kind of rolling around just there to the right around Puerto Rico. It looks like they're en route right now. Looks like they're leaving Miami and heading out over in that direction. So that's just kind of a little update that I'm looking at on the fly here this time around. So yeah, reconnaissance aircraft are on their way out there. They're going to head out. They've come from this direction and they're en route right now. And hopefully we'll get some more information on that one later on. So 94L again is pretty close to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands there. And it is forecast to kind of drift off toward the west-northwest for a while, very, very close to land, and then may start to get tugged back off toward the north. Now, these are the far eastern Bahamas right over here, so it does look like it might try to run over those eastern Bahamas and then slide off toward the north. At this point, it doesn't look like the intensity models are too excited about this, maybe tropical depression or tropical storm strength, but that can also dump a lot of heavy rain and cause some problems with the seas. They got a lot of boats that are going back and forth, planes that go between all of those islands as well. So any tropical weather like that, whether it's a tropical depression or a full-fledged hurricane, can still cause some problems there. But those are the two that we need to be on the lookout for. Fortunately, they're not expected to come toward the Gulf. The Gulf is remaining very, very quiet. But we do get a little bit concerned because the water temperatures are kind of maxed out here over the Bahamas, and that would be something that could cause some strengthening. And you can see that the water temperatures are above normal, but as things get a little closer to the eastern coast, the water temperatures are a little bit below normal. So let's say maybe a weaker system were to come and try to graze the coast of North Carolina. If it encounters some of this colder water, it may inhibit any extra development there. But you can see that the tropical cyclone heat potential is pretty high. It's not the highest that we're seeing on the map. That's down here in the Caribbean, but it is high enough that it could tap into it. And as far as the wind shear ahead of 94L, there's not that much out there. It's pretty light. So if this is going to track kind of in this direction and stays in this lower wind shear environment, it might have a chance for some strengthening here. So that's 94L. That's the one that's a little bit closer. 93L might be dealing with some wind shear out here, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I would say we'll have either one or perhaps two tropical depressions here within the next 2 days. So let's go ahead and get into some of the big models and see what we've got happening out there. This is the Euro model. This is where we are right now. Again, this is the precipitable water map, because what we look at is we want to see if there's enough moisture in the atmosphere, because we've been battling dry air over the Atlantic for almost the entire hurricane season, and that has essentially shot down most of our tropical systems. Of course, Aaron earlier in the hurricane season, and then more recently Gabrielle are the couple of survivors out there. So there's what we're looking at, 94L there, 93L farther to the east. So let's just advance this here, and you can see that 94L, or rather 93L to the east, gets the low pressure center first, and then there's 93L, or 94L rather, that's over the Bahamas. I'm going to get these straight pretty soon, but you see the one to the east seems to be the stronger of the two, while the one over the Bahamas looks to stay more like a tropical depression, maybe getting to tropical storm force strength. And then as we get into Tuesday of next week, the Euro model brings it very, very close to the Carolina coast, and then you see that big trough come off the east coast, and that should shoot both of them out to sea. So now we're getting out to 240 hours. And so both of those would avoid the east coast, but more importantly, they would be avoiding the Gulf waters as well as the western part of the Caribbean. Let's roll this back again. Let's go ahead and grab the GFS. Now, remember what these are doing. These are only giving you one solution. It's not like the ensembles, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, where it gives you a bunch of different solutions, kind of the what ifs, because we all know that there are going to be some things that are going to make the forecast change, whether in the track, whether it's in the intensity. So the ensemble models just give you a whole bunch of different scenarios. If they're all on top of each other, your forecast confidence is high. If those spaghetti lines are spread out all over the place, your forecast confidence is a lot lower. So getting back to the GFS, again, there's 94L and there is 93L on that map. Both of them have a decent amount of moisture wrapping around them. And then you see low pressure developing farther to the east. That one's 93L. And again, this one actually might be a race to see who gets the next name on the list. So the GFS model seems really robust on 93L, but basically has it kind of absorb the other systems. So we might be talking about maybe just one on here. And again, as we go out to 240 hours, you get this huge trough that's coming off the East Coast. And again, nothing out here in the Gulf waters, at least for the next 10 days. Great news there. Let's go ahead and let's go to the Canadian model here. And again, we'll get it back to where we are today, right there. And once again, there's that moisture pool associated with 93 or 94L. 93L is farther out here. Those are the two that we're going to watch. So now you got that perspective, and the Canadian model seems to try to develop both of these. The one to the right, the east, is 93L, and that one looks like it's going to be a little bit stronger. But the Canadian model going out 10 days looks like it wants to try to develop both as well. Let's finish off with the ICON model. We can't do PW's, precipitable water, on the ICON model, but just for reference, you'll see the two lows kind of come up here, and the ICON model only goes out 7 days, but you can see it is also trying to develop both of those and then kind of lift them off toward the northwest. And as we get out to day 7, it looks like the ICON model wants to develop them and push them both farther away. So I would say the Bahamas right now has the most likely chance of seeing a tropical system come by, and maybe the island of Bermuda as well. So those are the two scenarios that we have there for those four computer models. Let's go into more of the ensemble stuff. And again, so what you're seeing down here, this is 93L, and then what you're seeing is all these spaghetti plot lines here. So it's the same model being run over and over and over again, but they just add something different. Maybe it's some dry air, maybe it's a little wind shear, maybe it's a difference in some of the water temperature. So there's a lot that goes in there, but you see that at least for 93L, yeah, 93L, everything's really on top of each other, and then you start to lose your confidence a little bit more down the road. But that is pretty normal. You're going to see those spaghetti plot lines kind of go all over the place once you go farther out in time. So let's go ahead and roll this one. And you'll also notice that 94L is going to start to slide in here. Let me make sure that I've got everything turned on this particular one. So let's get all of the models on here. I don't know why those turned off there. So now you'll be able to see what both of the Google solutions are going to be having. So you see tropical storm, maybe hurricane with 93L that's farther to the east, and maybe a weaker tropical storm there over the Bahamas, which would be 94L. And we're taking this, now we're getting into the 1st of October and then sliding everything away. But one of the things, once again, I want you to pay attention to is the Gulf. We are going all the way out. We are now at October 4th, October 5th, October 6th, 7th, 8th, and finally October 9th. And you see nothing out in the Gulf waters. So great news there. Let's hope that holds. We don't want anything to come into the Gulf waters this time around. The global tropics hazard does keep the Atlantic a little busy for week 2 and week 3. This just came down yesterday, so this starts the first 2 weeks of October for you. And really the Atlantic quiets down after that. But that's pretty normal because during the month of October, most of our tropical systems start to form either in the areas near the Yucatan or the far western Atlantic. But we do still have a decent amount of activity here between October 1st and November 1st. So you see that that's higher than what we see over here in August. So October is still a busy month for hurricane season, and us here along the Gulf Coast need to pay attention a lot more during September and October, because sometimes you can get a front that can develop a system, or you can get something that kind of forms a little closer to home, either in the Bay of Campeche or right around the Yucatan. And it doesn't give you a whole lot of time to get prepared. So that's why we tell you to get all the basics right now while there are no storms out there, and then just hope and pray that we don't have any systems come our way. Well, I hope you enjoy Let's Talk Tropics. That's what I got for you today. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also turn on those notifications. And remember, you can hear my forecast throughout the day on Big 102.1, Planet Radio 106.7, and Freedom 95.1. And on select days, I'm over at WBRZ Channel 2. I'll be there Friday for the morning show and their noon show. Morning shows both Saturday and Sunday, and then the morning show on Monday. If you can't catch it on your TV, I've got a link in the description below for our live stream, or you can just go to WBRZ.com and you can find that live stream right there at the home page. Also, follow my social media pages for any updates on Gabrielle, or if 93 or 94L, either one of those, decide to form into a tropical depression or tropical storm. I'll have updates there. And of course, thanks to everyone who's subscribed to Acadiana Weather Today right here on YouTube. I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and if you're ready to enjoy some of that rain like I am, as I've got a yellow lawn and some plants that don't look so great, I'm glad they're going to get a drink a little bit later on today. Have a good one. I'll see you on Thursday.